It was initially supposed to oversee the post-war arrangements in Gaza. Now, the newly created so-called Board of Peace is expected to deal with other conflicts as well. But will it really be able to achieve global peace? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finighan. It's been formally rolled out. US President Donald Trump launched the Board of Peace on Thursday, saying that it's one of the most consequential bodies ever created in the history of the world. This is all part of the agreement to reach a ceasefire in Gaza after almost 2 years of Israel's war on the Strip. Trump said the board will work in partnership with the UN to address crises far beyond Gaza. It all comes as phase 2 of the ceasefire is coming into force. Now, all eyes will be on what the board achieves in Gaza before dealing with other conflicts. We'll discuss the future of the board with our guests in just a moment. But first, a report from Imogen Kimber.
US President Donald Trump says it'll be one of the most legendary boards ever. That's the so-called Board of Peace, now formally launched at the Davos Economic Forum. Members include leaders from Argentina, Indonesia, Hungary, Morocco, Bahrain, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Of the 60 nations that were offered a place, 25 nominated members sit on the board so far. Critical to negotiations with Hamas, Qatar is on the board. And vital for access to Gaza via the Rafah crossing, so is Egypt. Originally, Trump said the board would oversee the reconstruction of Gaza, but the remit has changed. Trump says the board may also address conflicts around the world.
Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we wanted.
The 11-page charter doesn't mention Gaza at all. But the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who's a senior executive on the board, says the priority is still making sure the ceasefire in Gaza endures. Days before the announcement of the board, a new governing authority for Gaza was established with the aim of leading reconstruction. Senior White House advisor, Trump's son-in-law, and real estate developer Jared Kushner is planning Gaza's reconstruction. He wants to use what's called free market economic principles and has divided the Gaza Strip into development zones. But he recognises it won't be immediately possible.
Going forward, number one thing is going to be security. Obviously, we've been working very closely with the Israelis to figure out a way through de-escalation. And the next phase is working with Hamas on demilitarization, which I'll talk about in a second. But without security, nobody's going to make investments. Nobody's going to come, build their...
US Envoy Steve Witkoff says demilitarization will take place as part of phase 2 of the US 20-point peace plan, which has now begun. But how the disarming of Hamas will take place has not been made clear. Phase 2 also includes the deployment of an international stabilisation force, the details of which are also not clear. But despite all the announcements, the people of Gaza continue to endure Israeli attacks. Since the ceasefire came into force on the 10th of October, Israeli forces have killed more than 400 Palestinians and wounded as many as 1,300 others. Imogen Kimber, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Let's bring in our guests. Here in Doha is Faisal al-Mudahka, editor-in-chief of the Gulf Times. From Florida, we're joined by Josi, political strategist and co-author of Trump, Your Life, Life Lessons from the Ups and Downs of the 45th President of the United States. And from Amman in Jordan, we're joined by Jawad Anani, former Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Jordan. Gentlemen, welcome to you all. Jawad Anani, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump's Board of Peace? Is this a genuine peace initiative or the beginning, perhaps, of a new world order shaped around one man's power and priorities?
Well, like you said, exactly. It depends on Mr. Trump. He's the engineer, he's the man with the initiative. And it seems that the whole topic is being intensely negotiated, especially by European partners who are very important to the process of peace. And so I believe that the next 3 years will witness whether we can resolve the issue in Gaza and get the reconstruction movement on, and also to bring the Israelis to play according to the rules and to international law. Other than that, then the process would not succeed, and it would be just a waste of time. And those who opposed it will have to go back to the issue of dealing with the United Nations system and international law, which the Israelis, the current Israeli government, of course, is adamant against cooperating with either the United Nations or even upholding the international law. So therefore, we have this idea to test, and giving Mr. Trump the opportunity by some Arab countries, especially those who agreed to join in the Board of Peace, an opportunity to see whether he can muster sufficient leverage over the Israelis to bring them to the table and do the right thing, which would allow the peace process to withstand the test of time.
Christian, what's your view? Is this peacemaking or power projection dressed up as diplomacy? Is this Board of Peace the ultimate expression of Donald Trump's decisive, results-driven leadership style, cutting through institutional paralysis, or does it risk becoming a highly personalized power structure that only works while Mr. Trump himself is in charge?
Well, it's an interesting question. I'm known as to be an ally of President Trump. Known him for a long time. But, the old ways have not been working, obviously. And so this is a new way. And I agree with my colleague who was just talking about, it's worth a try. I do think that, that we need European involvement. I don't like the idea of Russia being invited because I think Vladimir Putin is the least peaceful person on the planet and should not be invited to a peace board. Certainly not now. So I think we straighten that out. I want to know where the money's going, if it's going to Gaza and to maybe victims and families, then, my attitude is let's do it. Let's give it a shot.
Faisal, you heard Christian there saying that it's worth at least a try. Past frameworks from the UN Security Council to the Abraham Accords have struggled to deliver lasting peace for Palestinians. From Qatar's perspective, what makes this Board of Peace potentially different or more promising? Is Qatar's attitude, well, let's give it a try?
I will talk in my personal analysis on this. All the years what we have seen a breakthrough was always through the United States. So if you think about the Camp David with Egypt, 1978, the peace process with Jordan, the pull of Israel from Sinai, was always a platform that the U.S. have supervised between Israel and the conflict party. It was never the UN. I think the add value of this board that you have the Arab countries, you have Turkey, you have Pakistan, you have a representative or 1.8 billion Muslims and Arab sitting in the table. And I think this is a new platform that's worth the try. But I agree, where is the money is going to be sent? Why is Tony Blair is there? So things, but let's hope for a positive. But, the problem is always Israel. Many chances have been given and but this time, I think if there is a proper governor and a proper by law and orders and led by Trump, President Trump, I think we can see a breakthrough. I hope it's not only a business transition. I saw the presentation of Jared Kushner, and it looks amazing if it is for the Palestinians, for the people in Gaza who have suffered all these years. And let's remember, this is also, there is a world pressure. This war have caused 158 countries to recognize Palestine or Palestine as a state. So there is a lot of blood and a lot of bloodshed have been paid to reach to this stage. So I hope everybody get in the position of respecting what happened and get responsible of. But I think I'm really optimistic. But again, what is the governor? And I don't think it's a new bylaw. Remember also there is one important point is the Arab initiative that led by Saudi Arabia that to pull out from all the land, and then all the Arab will recognize Israel, and then that's a final peace process. So this is a platform that everybody can meet and also discuss, but I don't think it will take over, a UN resolutions or can oversee what happened, because this is a long history and the last colony project on Earth.
Okay. Jawad, Anani, plans for Gaza, talk of reconstruction, infrastructure, political renewing, reopening Rafah, ambitious promises. How much of that is realistically deliverable with 2 million people traumatized, displaced, impoverished? What's got to happen first for peace to become something tangible rather than abstract?
That's right. It has to have a dent on people's lives and on the positive side. I think that the whole process is fraught with difficulties, whether practical, executive, or even getting the different parties to agree to what should be done and when and in what order. So there are going to be so many obstacles along the way. But I think if there is the structure that, let me go back to the structure of the peace process as envisaged by President Trump. First of all, he created this board of peace to oversee things and probably to secure funds needed for such operation. The second one is to put the plan for Gaza and implement it through the executive board that is going to be there with the under the chairmanship of the gentleman from Bulgaria, I think, who's going to head that committee. And the third one is the local committee, which is going to deal directly with people and move them around and help in the logistics of implementing the process of reconstruction, headed by Mr. Ali Shaath from Gaza. So in a way, we have a three-layered structure that is going to deal with this issue, and hopefully that would be reflected in the process itself. So I believe that it is well thought in a way, but I have to go back to the point that Europe's presence in this committee is imperative because they know the history of the area, they have dealt with it, and also they can give good advice to the process. Yet two issues separate us from European engagement in the process. One is, of course, the Greenland and the issue of Greenland, and the other one is the peace in the Ukraine. And if those two problems are resolved between the Americans and the Europeans, then I believe that probably some prominent European countries should join the process, especially the UK and hopefully France and Italy and Spain. And this would be very important.
All right, we'll come back to the issue you raised there, Jawad, in just a moment. But first, Christian, I get the feeling that you're broadly supportive, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. It's worth a try, you said, but only if the money is clearly accounted for. With billion-dollar permanent memberships, Trump personally controlling the board's agenda, what kind of transparency and oversight would satisfy you that this doesn't become some sort of, I don't know, a geopolitical slush fund?
Well, with all these, first of all, I want to take with respectfully take issue with my friend. I don't lay it all at the feet of Israel. I think there are many parties to blame here. I think everybody needs to come to the table and learn how to live together, and that hopefully this will be helpful with it. As for the money, I want to see it. I want to see it go to Gaza. I want to see it go to victims. And if I know that's going to happen, I also want us to kick Russia out of it and bring Europe in. I think it could possibly work. It could possibly be a force for great good, not just in the Middle East, but the world. The Security Council has endorsed it, so they're involved. As long as, there's accountability, I think that's good. I'm glad that Tony Blair is on the board. I'm glad, that it's not just all Trump family members. We're just going to have to see what happens. It's really going to just be it's an open question at the moment. But again, like I said before, any new approach is worth trying because, again, the old approaches have failed miserably.
Faisal, I know you're speaking in a personal capacity. Qatar has become a central diplomatic actor in Gaza. It's mediated ceasefires, facilitated talks, it's delivered humanitarian aid. Does this new framework, do you think, amplify Doha's role? Does it perhaps risk sidelining the very mediation channels that have actually delivered results up until now?
I agree with on worth trying, the idea of worth trying. But Qatar have also suffered from Israel, in short, as a mediator. So really, Qatar has always been asking, a table will always, dialogue will solve the problem. Now, this process also has stages, has been implemented. Today, borders are closed. Children are still suffering in this cold weather, and also the violence have not stopped. So I am optimistic, but again, yes, people need to live together. But I think it's always the game of blaming. I'm not. Yes, I'm talking in my capacity. What has the hostages is back. Hamas agreed to surrender, demolish, given their weapon, given the power. Now what is left? Why the border is closed? Why the aid is not there? So many questions really need to be answered. But I think also it's not only on Qatar. Now the liability is also in the Islamic world, and now the liability is also have been. It's like there is a Security Council approval on this board. We will wait to see. I mean, it's all speculation now. There is good signs, and there is also a sign to be that is not showing me personally a comfortable feeling. But I always say also what have the Security Council have been done? What they have accomplished? The whole framework of the Security Council have not helped peacemaking. Resolution comes off, and there is a veto either from the United States or another veto in the Ukraine conflict from Russia. So what does I think this is more like more a realistic board that can a peace talk here in Qatar have led to the Sharm el-Sheikh ceasefire. So that was also a new platform. So encouraging, I really see and have a big hope on that, but let's wait and see.
Okay.
Economic, I also agree on the economical side. So after World War II, the Marshall Project, economic will create job. When we're creating job, people will feel will worry about their day-to-day work. If there is a development, that was Qatar what was doing on the all years where we're supporting the Palestinian and Gaza. It kind of like kept peace for so long.
Faisal, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
Time is passing too quickly here. Jawad and Anani, let's pick up on what Faisal was saying there about the Security Council. President Trump has openly suggested that the body could ultimately replace the United Nations. If that happens, what does the world gain and what does the world risk losing? And you've said that this framework appears to fulfill Israel's demand to bypass the UN. Does that structurally tilt the board in Israel's favor? If so, how can Arab states realistically rebalance that?
Okay. Well, the structure of the peace, if I were to look objectively at the structure of the board of peace, other than the president, there are 4 or 5 people, Americans, or who have been appointed by the president, who are obviously pro-Israel. Whether you talk about Rubio or Kushner or even Mr. Blair, their positions have not been exactly pro-Palestinian. And so the question is, the presence of Arab countries have actually faced this dilemma, and we have now about 7 members who are Islamic and Arab countries who really carry a big weight, because Indonesia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, are all United Arab Emirates and so on. All of them have their own positions on this, and they can play different constructive roles into the process if that was coordinated among themselves. So in a way, yes, we can see that the dynamics of the situation can really provide not a substitute for the United Nations, because eventually, if you want to legitimize the whole process, you need to go back to the Security Council and other UN organizations. If we are judging that this project may be viewed as a potential replacement for the United Nations system, because the United States has, at the same time, withdrew from some organizations by President Trump himself. So in a way, he is probably bored and fed up with the fact that you have multipolar system now. It is not like when the United States was the only country, the only superpower that has dominated the world, especially after in the early years of this century, when they were able, for instance, to extract in the 90s of the last century about 50 UN resolutions according to Chapter 7 without any objections against Iraq and boycotting of Iraq. Now, this is not tenable. So the American feeling that they cannot exercise their leverage through the United Nations probably is what prompted them to go to this process. Now, whether that has the capacity to become a substitute for the UN, I really doubt that very much.
So, Christian, a quick question to you. You've been clear that if Vladimir Putin becomes involved in this, your support evaporates. I mean, why is that? Is that about moral credibility? Is it about geopolitical realism? The danger, perhaps, that the board legitimizes leaders who actively undermine peace elsewhere?
Yeah. Well, real quick, Adrian, I just want to agree with my colleague. I am skeptical of, I read the list of the board members, so to speak, and I think it needs to be more diverse. But, Putin is the least peaceful man on the planet. I don't think he belongs on any peace board. I don't think that this organization would usurp the United Nations. In fact, it's a partnership of sorts. But yeah, I think Europe is very nervous, obviously, about Putin, the invitation to Putin. Why did we do that? And I've conveyed that to the White House. I've said, this is crazy. Don't even ask him. Let's just go around him. And that's my opinion on it. I'm very, very against any sort of accommodation for Vladimir Putin. That's all. That's just how I am.
Faisal, can any plan for Gaza? Yeah, can any plan for Gaza succeed if Palestinians aren't clearly at the center of political authority rather than confined to technical or administrative roles? 12 months on from now, what concrete outcomes would tell us that this board has genuinely changed the trajectory for Gaza, not just reshape the diplomacy around it?
I think the root of the problem first is, this is a two-war tragedy with a lot of people who suffered, no hospitals, babies with no vaccines, and people with cancer, diabetes. I think that's number one for me, is to help the people on the ground. I see people talking about towers and glamorous cities, but the basic things, the border is still controlled in Rafah, and the flow of aid is not there. So that's, for me, is the first step that as an observer representing a wide segment of the Arab world who have watched this and have a lot of anger, to see the flow and not to be put as a tool of negotiation, food against human life. So that's number one.
And very briefly, number two, we're almost out of time.
Number two, we want to see a dialogue, a face-to-face dialogue. What is the framework? This is more a dialogue platform. It will not recreate what is the right of the Palestinian. The right of the Palestinian, I think, if you ask me, number two, to add point 21, to recognize, this board has to recognize Palestine as a state, joining the 158 world countries who have recognized Palestine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, many thanks indeed. There we must end it. Faisal Al-Mudahka, Christian Josi, and Jawad Anani. Thanks for watching. You can see the program again at any time by going to the website. That's at aljazeera.com. For further discussion, join us at our Facebook page at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And of course, you can always join the conversation on X, our handle there at AJ Inside Story. From me, Adrian Finighan, and the team here in Doha. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again. Bye for now.